speak to all mankind. Hello, and a very good evening to all of you present here. I am Kanishka Ghodke, Vice Chairperson at Rait ACM. Along with me, I have Gauri Jadhav, Content Chief at Rait ACM. We would like to welcome you all to the day 2 of Ready to React, a 5-day live workshop organized by Rait ACM, where you will be taken through an amazing journey of JavaScript, the language that gives web pages interactive elements and makes everything even more attractive. We are glad to have you all, the learners, with us today. Whether you are a beginner or well versed with JavaScript, this workshop will surely benefit each and everyone. Even if you haven't got your heart set on a tech career, being proficient in JavaScript language will enable you to build websites from scratch, a pretty useful skill to have in today's world. Throughout the workshop, we will take you through an engaging step-by-step approach to understand the JavaScript code. We will also be providing certificates after the workshop. Participants, please feel free to ask your questions to our mentor. You can also post your queries in the text channel. All your questions of every participant will be answered during the workshop by our mentor. We will be having a Q&A session in the end.
Now I would like to introduce to you all the speaker of the day. We have Mr. Haridarshan Chaudhary, who is a full stack developer and has completed numerous internships on React. He is currently working as a product engineer intern at Teal Field. Mr. Haridarshan is also the winner of Prequel to Perfection organized by REIT ACM, and he will be briefing us about JavaScript. Before we proceed with the session, let us have a small recap of the topics that we have covered yesterday. What is web development? Roadmap and available routes. Why JS? What are primitive values? Variables and declaration of variables. Type of operator, arithmetic, math. Loops in JS, conditionals, truthy and falsy values. Over to you, sir.
Hi everybody. So let's start presenting. Okay. So we will continue with the same energy where we ended yesterday. And initially, I can you give me a confirmation that whether my screen is visible or not?
Yes, it is visible.
Good. So let's start and let's do some KBC stuff. Kaun banega crorepati, okay? So you have to guess the answers. And what we are doing now is we are checking comparison. So the comparison operator, whether it's greater than, equal to, less than, anything, it's going to return either true or false. So you have like two options and you can guess stuff, right? So I'll look to the responses in the chat and you can just guess the answers. Okay. So what do you think should be console.log 4 greater than 5? Yep. 4 greater than 5. Four greater than 5. False. Okay, got one answer. Cool. 3 answers. Like make it fast so that we can do some crazy stuff. Okay, so this one was quite easy. False, and it is. Let's move on to the next one, which is what should be 4 less than 5? 4 less than 5. It's 2. Yeah. Exactly. So, okay, sorry. 4 less than 5, it's 2. Next one, this is also a easy answer. So can you guess what is 4 greater than equal to 5? 4 greater than equal to 5. False. So yes, it's false. Let's, I just repeated it. Let's say this is 5 greater than equal to 5 less than equal to 5. What should be the answer? True. I see true. Okay. So it's true. Okay, now it is a bit interesting. What should be the answer to this? Z greater than A. True or false? False. True, true, true. Okay. Z greater than A. Z greater than A. True, false, or an error or something. What do you think should be the answer to this? False. I have an answer as false. And I guess these are true. Okay. So the answer to this is true. Now, why this is true? Because JavaScript follows a lexical order. And what is the lexical order? It's basically the order which is followed by dictionaries. Okay. So according to a dictionary, Z should appear after A. Hence, Z is greater than A. So this is true. And it follows the same rule for all the strings. So what do you think should be the answer to this? Glow greater than glee. GLOWGLE. What should be the answer to this? False. I see false, true. False, true. Okay. True. What should be the answer to this? Glow greater than glee. I see few true, few false. True. Okay. Just give an attempt. Like either it's true, either it's false. Thank you, Rahul, for posting this onto the chat so that people can refer it. True. So if we check it, it's true because again it follows the lexical order. GL are common, but O is lexically bigger. Like O comes after E, hence we get this answer. Now, what should be the answer to this? B greater than B. Either it's true, either it's false. B greater than B. Thanks, Rahul. True, 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 true. So yes, it's true. Because till BE it's same, then after that the length of BEE is greater than B, hence it returns me. So like that was all about comparisons, and if you want to like check for other stuff, you can just do that on your own too. Now we have we come across this topic, which is what are truthy and falsy values. So let's first understand this term, what is truthy and what is falsy. So a value is said to be a truthy value if it is converted to Boolean, then it should return true. So a value X, Y, or anything will be a truthy value if it returns true when it's converted into Boolean. And falsy value is simply a value which will return false when it is converted into a Boolean. So let's see some examples. What's console.log Boolean of true? True. Yeah, this is the most difficult one. Okay. What should be console.log Boolean? Okay, what Boolean does is it basically converts this value into its Boolean equivalent. So, for example, if I wrap true into Boolean, it would convert it into its Boolean equivalent. So whatever goes inside, the returned value will be either true or false. So what should be the returned value at this moment? It's line number 140. What should be the returned value? I see few true. Yeah. Okay. So exactly, because if true is converted to true, it should obviously return true. Okay, I haven't saved it. So it's line number 140. It returns true. Now, what should be the answer to this? What should be the answer to this? Make it fast, come on. So the answer to console.log boolean of false. I see false, true, false, false, okay, 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 false, okay, okay. Yeah, I again forgot to say. It returns me false, which is line number 141. It returns me false, and that's the right answer. Now, what, according to you, should be console.log boolean of 1? If you have like read something about binary or other thing, this should be like very easy to you. So true, 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 true. Cool. So the answer, okay, let me say first. The answer is true. So any positive value will return true. Now, what will boolean of 0 return? What will boolean of 0 return? Boolean of 0, false, okay, false. I see few responses for false. And why do I keep forgetting to say? Okay, so yes, it's false. Boolean of 0 will return false. Okay, so we did cover like positive numbers and 0, but let's see for negative numbers too. I guess I forgot to like put up an example for negative numbers, so let's just do this. What, according to you, should be the answer to this console.log boolean of -2? Now this false, false, I see false. Okay, false, false. There's one true. Okay. There's few true. Okay. I see suddenly people answering. So yes, it's going to be true. So any integer or any numerical value other than 0 is going to return you true. Now, what would be the console.log of an empty string when it's converted into Boolean? What should this return? Are there any guesses? Like, what should this return? What should this return? False, false, false. Okay, cool. Save it. This returns false indeed. And let's move to the next. What will console.log boolean of a string, like basically some value? What if some value is written there? What is this going to return? What is this going to return? 2, 2, 2. Again, forgot to save. So yes, it's going to return true. This all will be like available to you on GitHub as well, so you can like refer it whenever you want, but it's not something worth referring. Okay, now what would console.log boolean of null return? I know that you don't know much about what's null, but at least like from the name you can guess what this is going to return, right? Well, this is a hint for you. So based on the name, yeah, should return false, and it does return false. And finally, we also have our friend undefined, which we will be covering in this session at what this is and what's the significance of undefined. What should this return? Well, it's kind of sounds as a negative word. So what do you think this should return? False, false, false. Okay. Save it, switch, and it does return false. So like we do know truthy and falsy values now. We do know comparisons now. This all these things can be used in your conditionals, which we covered yesterday. So we covered while, where it has a condition. We covered for, where it has a condition. We covered some if loop. Sorry, we covered some if conditionals, and you can use these conditions like everywhere. So like you can also use the comparison operators, and you can also use like these truthy and falsy values. If you don't convert it to Boolean, JavaScript will automatically interpret and convert it into its equivalent Boolean when it is placed inside a if condition. Okay, so we'll like with some examples in further sessions, we'll also see that why this is important and why should I know truthy and falsy values, because this actually helps us to write a code a bit better. And it's so we have like next topic, which is equality of values. So basically we had this greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, but now we strictly want to learn about the equality of values, and this is again going to evaluate to either true or false. And again you will have two options. You have to just say what this should return. So what should console.log 5 equals 5 return, like whether 5 is equal to 5 or not. So this should return true, 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 true. So yeah, okay. Again, forgot to save the script. So this returns true, which was like quite expected. Now you may be wondering why something crazy is not happening. This is JavaScript, something crazy should happen. So let's wait. Okay. So what should console.log string of 5 equals 5 return? What should this return? Whether true or false, what should this return? A lot of people say true, true. A lot of people say true. Okay, a lot of people say true. So I guess the people who are saying true, they have interpreted it in such a way that this string is either going to be converted into a number, or either this number is going to be like converted into a string, and then this equality check is performed. And that's exactly what happens, because in comparison, in JavaScript, whenever you compare two values, it's going to do the type coercion, whatever is possible, and then it will give you the results. So hence, this should return true. This should return true. But in a way, if you think that this is actually a bit crazy, right? What if this is somebody passed 5 as a string, and you want to do some arithmetic stuff, and whenever I add this, for example, if let's say you expect a number which is like 5 or something, and somebody passed it as a string, and you add something like 6, and you expect this to be a number, but this is passed as a string. So what should this return? First of all, let me know that what should this return, because this was covered in the last session. I guess everyone would be able to get some instant answers, 2 answers. Okay, cool. So okay, so that actually makes me a bit happy. Oh, I again forgot to save the script. It's 56. So but this is wrong, right? I'd expect that this should be a number, but it didn't return me a number, and when I'm comparing it with a number, it tells me it's true. How am I going to know that whether it's a number or a string? So we'll cover this later. But for time being, this returns as true. Okay, let's go to the next question. And what will this return? Console.log an empty string equals 0. An empty string equals 0. What will this return? I see two true, few true answers. Okay, and that's right, it will return true. Okay, then what is this going to return? Console.log. Okay, for people who don't know what is this, so whenever this will be covered in the further sessions, but just I'll give you an overview that you can actually define uh, a data structure in JavaScript, and this is called array, where you can store a set of values. Like, what if you want to store a set of names or something? So data structure, like arrays, is basically a collection of different data. In like in any other language, it collects the same type of data, but in JavaScript, the same array can contain cat, and at the same time, the same array can contain 8 or 6 or something, anything, because JavaScript is a loosely typed language, and variables in JavaScript don't have types. Okay, we repeated this golden statement again. So this returned false, which is correct. This is correct. What should this return? Okay. Well, this is easy to guess, right? An empty string equals 0 returned. Oh, sorry, this returned true. An empty string equals 0 returned true. An empty string. Oh, sorry, I missed it. Okay. Anyways, this is going to return true. I'll say this to you that this is going to return true. So what do you expect this to be returning? What do you expect this to be returning? Okay, I already have some answers. True, true, true. Okay, and yes, it does return true. Okay, I'll just give it, then we'll see. It does return true on line number 156, and that's right. Now, what will console.log string of 0 equals an empty string? What should this return? What should this return? What should this return? Like, what are your guesses here? What should this return? See, people saying true, some do say false. One false answer. Okay, true, true. So does it turn true, true, true? It's okay. There are a few false too. Okay, okay. Well, it was a bit tricky for sure. And answer to this is not true. It's false because there's no type conversion, right? This is a string. This is a string. There's no type conversion. So these are going to be evaluated the same way they are. In this case, where you had a string of 5 equals 5. At this stage, what happened is that this 5 was converted into a string and then it was compared because the types are not equal. They are not of the same type. But in this case, they are already of the same type. And if they are already of the same type, why do we need to do the type conversion? And if we don't do the type conversion, that's obviously going to return as false because these two strings are not same. I hope you understand that. And this one, console.log console.log empty array equals empty array. What should this return? I'll just check the chat. 2. Okay, I'm getting faster answers now. That's great. Did I say it? Yeah. This is going to this is going to return false. And why this returned false? Okay. Well, that's a good question. Why this returned false? Because array. I'll just show you that. Array arrays, when I do the type of array, return me object because an array is a non-primitive data type. Okay, so an array is actually a non-primitive data type, and since it's a non-primitive data type, whenever I create array, an empty array, it actually creates a new object which is an array. Okay, so this and this, they are not the same object. Well, they may look same, but in the memory they are at different positions, hence they don't have the same source of truth, and hence when you compare them, it's going to return you false. We'll cover more about this in coming sessions when we are going to cover objects, which is tomorrow, I guess. So now we come to referential equality, right? Referential equality. What is referential equality? So Well, this example was already covered, but I just wanted to illustrate that what would be the answer uh, if those values are actually stored in variables. So what should this return according to you? Where array is 8, array of 2 is 8. What should this return according to you? Okay, people are saying that it should return true, and yes, this should return true. Now, if I comment it out, place it's true. Okay, now what I did is I updated these values where array is actually an empty array is arr is an empty array, array2 is also an empty array, and again console.log array equals array2. So what should this return? And we can do this like it was an arr was a number, but now it is an array because variables in JavaScript don't have types. Okay, so what should this return? Let me look at chat. People say false, 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 false. Okay, and yes, that's okay. So I guess like people are understanding stuff. But now in JavaScript, whenever you want to compare equality of two variables, like equality of two values, not variables, equality of two values, we also have one more alternative, which is triple equals. So it's like in all the other language, we have something like double equals to compare, but in JavaScript, we have triple equals. And what triple equals does is it is going to compare the two values without converting them into an equivalent type, without type conversion. So in triple equals, there is no type conversion, and the values are evaluated as it is. So now, what should be the answer to this? 5 triple equals 5. 5 triple equals 5. Okay, true, true. I'll just repeat once again. What triple equals does is it is not going like it won't do type conversion. It won't do type conversion, and it will compare the values as it is. And it will return either true or false. So what should be the answer? True, true, true. A lot of people are saying true, and yes, it is going to return true. Okay, so let's write it here. Swallow it out. Now what should this return? A string of 5 triple equals 5. A string of 5 triple equals 5. This should return false, false, false. A lot of people are saying that this should return false, yeah. And yes, it should return false because there is no type conversion, as we already noticed. Okay, and return false. That's great. What should this return now? An empty string triple equals 0. An empty string triple equals 0. So an empty string triple equals 0. What should this return? I see some people saying true, some people, I guess they're confused. Okay, cool. So this will eventually return false. And why this returns false is previously when it was double equals, this 0, like this, there was type coercion happening. And okay, I haven't forwarded you the rules of type coercion. I'll do it today strictly. So what type coercion rules are, I'll just demonstrate that. So console.log, let's convert this into a number. Let's convert this into a number and let's see what this returns. And you'll see that it actually returns 0. Okay. So in the above case, this statement was true because this null string, which was like an empty string, it was actually converted to 0 because it was possible to convert that thing into 0. So console.log number of this returned me 0 because when converted to number, it's going to do like it is going to return you 0. And hence, when we did it with double equals, it returned us true because this empty string was actually 0. So 0 equals 0, which is true. But in this case, there is no type conversion. And since there is no type conversion, like it won't be converted into 0. It's a string and it's a number. So the comparison returns false. I hope you understand this. If you don't understand this, just put it in the chat box. If you have any doubt till now, you can just put it into the chat box. I'll answer to all of them. So what should this return? Console.log empty string triple equals. So top it returned true. We do know that at the top it actually returned true. So now what this should return? So I see false, false, false. Few people replying with false. Yeah. So it does return false. It does return false. Now let's move ahead. What should this return? What should this return? What should this return? So okay, I actually won't check the chat now. I'll just show you what's the answer and you can just cross check. So console.log 0 triple equals 0. This should return false because there's no type conversion. Okay. So what should this return? Empty string, which is triple equals this string. There's no type conversion, and well, there was no point of type conversion at this moment. So this would eventually return false. So if you want to like verify it, you can do it like it's returning false. And in this case, it should also return false. It does return false. So if you have noticed, like if you noticed, what happened is that whatever is returned false in double equals, that is also returned false in triple equals. But whatever is returned true in double equals may not return false, like may not return true in triple equals because there is no type conversion. So I hope you understand what is triple equals and what is double equals. So now let's come to some crazy part, which is functions. Okay, so what are functions? What are functions? So functions are basically like you have a very big program and you divide it into sub programs. Like you divide it into sub programs, and then those sub programs are executed differently and they return some value after the execution. That is what we call a function. The concept of function is almost same in all the programming languages, but the definition and other stuff, definition and calling of the function may differ from language to language. So a function is basically like you have a very big program. Let's say you have a very big program which actually calculates percentages. It's going to calculate percentages. Okay, so percentages, and it's going to calculate percentage, and the input for it would be like marks of all the subjects, like sub 1 marks, sub 2 marks, and sub 3 marks, all stuff. So or you can say not percentage, but let's say we have let's say like we have this I'll just look at the chart. There's a doubt. Sir, you said boolean of any positive value will be true. Then how boolean of -2 also to return true? Okay. After that, exactly after that, I told that well, it's not like boolean of any positive value. It would be boolean of all the integer. And in integer, we do have positive values, right? So boolean of every positive value is going to return you true. But at the same time, I covered it up later because I forgot to put up that example, that boolean of every integer except 0. Okay, boolean of every integer except 0 is going to return you true, and boolean of 0 is going to return you false. So I hope you understand that. Okay, so let's come back. Let's say we have a program which is going to calculate average of 3 marks, which we have scored in 3 subjects. What I can do is I can like break this into 2 functions. The first function would be like it's going to add sub 1, sub 2, and sub 3. So it takes this value, and it adds the value, and after that it's going to return me the sum. Okay, so I have this program which is going to have which is going to calculate the average. So what I do is I break this into 2 functions, and the first function is simply going to add it, and it is going to return the sum, and the another function is simply going to divide this by the number of subjects. So let's say, let's call this divide. Okay, let's call it divide. What it does is, so this add would take all the subject marks, sub1, sub2, sub3, and then it is going to return us the sum, which is basically sub1 plus sub2 plus sub3. And then we have a function called divide, which takes this sum, returned by this value, and then it basically returns sum divided by the number, which is 3. So we get this average. So if we assume that average is going to be a program, then we can break it into two functions, and hence functions are important because they uh, make your logic a bit easy, so that you can actually divide the program into different subprograms and write your code efficiently. So let's see, like, how do we define or declare a function. So we have a keyword called function, and a function should have a name. uh, well, it's not important that it should have a name, but for now just assume that a function should have a name. There is also a term called anonymous functions, which we will cover later, but for now assume that whenever we declare a function, we want to put up a name to that function. And let's say that function is nothing but double up. That's the name is double up, and what it does is it takes a number. So uh, how do you actually define a function? You write the keyword function, you write the name of the function, and then there's a parenthesis, and this is going to take parameters. And these parameters can be like any number of parameters, and these parameters can be of any type. It can be a number, it can be a string, it can be an array, it can be an object, and it can also be another function, which we will cover just yet. So it is going to have some parameters. Then we have these two curly braces, which are basically blocks, which creates a block. And inside that, it's going to have a return statement. It will do some processing here. And after that, take some processing, and after that, it's going to return some value. It's going to return some value, and we can use that value. In a lot of functions, like if you skip return, then it's called a void function, because it won't return anything, but it would obviously run the function whenever it's called, but it is not going to return anything. So let's define a function for us, which is function double up, which takes one parameter, which is the number, and what it does is it returns the number. It returns the number multiplied by 2. Okay, so it returns a number multiplied by 2. So how do I test this function, or basically how do I use this function? So we actually call this function whenever we want to use this. So let's say I have variable p, and I'll store some value, and that value is basically double up, and inside this I'm going to return 5. So what happens is this 5 here is interpreted as number, so here we will have this as number into 2, and this is going to return this, so which is 5 into 2, and it would return 10 here. And we can console.log p to verify it. And now if we go to a console, it is going to return 10. Okay, I'll just increase the font size a bit. Okay, it's going to return 10. So at console, it's going to return 10. And also, if you come inside the function to console.log of number, so what do you expect this to be? You can put your answers in the chat. What do you expect this to be? Console.log number. What do you expect this to be? I hope everyone is with me. What do you expect this to be? Console.log number. Console.log number for this particular thing. Like when I'm passing double up and 5, this is going to do some processing, and also it's going to return something. But here I've added one more line, which is console.log number. So basically this would return this number. So what would that be? What would be the value? So you can at least guess, like basically 10, 5, 10, 5, 10. Okay, you are guessing the console, right? Good. But I just want you to just guess this. Like what would this be? What would be console.log number? I'll write it here. This is inside the function. What would this be? This is inside the function. So few people say 10, few people say 5, and again few. Okay, okay. So I guess it's a tie, but this would actually return you 5. Why this is going to return you 5? Because this number passed here is 5, right? What we are returning, we are not returning number, we are returning number into 2, which is 5 into 2, and that's 10. Hence when we do console.log p, it returns 10, but inside this function, this number is actually 5. So you'll see that this inside the function it's 5 and it returns 10. I hope you understand that. Okay, now let's come to the another topic, which is garbage collection. So what is garbage collection in JavaScript? So have you ever wondered what happens to p? What happens to p when I come here? Like, let's say console.log, and let's say this is nothing but end. So what happens to p after line number 197? What do you think happens to p after line number 197? So for that, you can actually go to the developer tools, which is pretty awesome in Chrome as well as all the modern browsers, and you can go to the sources tab. Okay, go to the sources tab. I'll just decrease so that it's good. You can go to scripts, and here at line number 200, which is console.log end, I basically keep a debugger here and refresh this. So this would stop the execution at line number 200, right? We have this global thing, which is the window object, and let's scroll down so that MNOP will get P. Okay, here it is. Like, we do have P here. So basically what happens is this P, which is var P, is stored. Okay, so this var P is stored here, but what happens like if I declare var x or something and I say it's 5, okay, and then I'll replace x to something called 6. Okay, so for JavaScript to know, it should remember that there's some value 5 and x is pointing to that value, and after that I change this value to 6. So inside the memory, what happens is we have this var x being created, which is pointing to 5. So at this moment, it would point to 5, string of 5. But as soon as it is changed to 6, there is no variable pointing to 5. Hence, this 5 can be treated as a garbage, and hence that's deleted, and that's what is called garbage collection in JavaScript. So any value, if it has no variable associated with it, or if it has no variable pointing to it, then this 5 won't be stored in the memory, and in any case you won't see its traces, and hence this is done. And hence this is like, this would be deleted as soon as we do this. So that's garbage collection. So till this point, we've learned about a bit about functions. We learned about comparison stuff. Now let's get to some real stuff, which is how JS works. What if someone comes to you and just asks how JS works? Like, in case of like there are a lot of functions, there are a lot of variables and stuff. Then how this all works behind the scenes. So for that, we have a small diagram here. So I hope everyone can see this. Just put in the chat whether you can see it or not. Yes, would do. And if you have any doubt till now, you can also ask that in the chat. It would be great. Okay, yes, okay, the screen is visible. Yeah. And if you have any doubt, you can just ask. Okay, and let's cover it up. So what happens is whenever I start a program, whenever I start a program, a global execution context is created. Now, where is this global execution context? There you go. It's a global execution context is being created. So whenever a program starts, a global execution context is being created. So here, let's say this is my program. This towards the right, this is my program, and uh, whenever I run this program, a global execution context is created in the browser. And as I told you yesterday, that JavaScript is going to execute line by line. But what happens is there are two phases to the execution of a JavaScript program. The first phase is like getting all the variables and functions. So what JavaScript compiler will do is it would go to line number 1. It would see that, okay, there's K. So it would place K into the memory. But it would place K into the memory, and it would it would point it to a value called undefined, which is basically a value of type undefined. So K, it encounters K, it says, okay, there's a variable named K. It's not executing it yet. It's just checking the variables and functions, okay? So it checks K and it stores undefined here, okay? It goes down, okay? And it comes around a function. There's a function. So it would store this complete function inside the memory so that it can be executed later. But it is going to store the exact function with all its code inside the memory. Then now it encounters P, and what it does is it also stores P and points this variable to undefined. Now the memory collection phase is done. Okay, we collected all the variables and stuff, right? Okay, that's good. Now the execution of code actually starts. So line by line, every line of the code is executed. So here we come to var k equals 5, and it says, okay, when the compiler comes across this line, we have k in memory already, but k is assigned a value 5. So it updates k and tells the value to be 5. Now it comes up here, okay, and here we have a function, and well, a function is not executed yet. The function is not executed yet because the function will be executed when it's called. And how do we call a function? We actually pass a parameter or something like this, okay? We pass an argument and then that function is executed. So basically at this moment, when it comes to this line, there's nothing happening. And when it comes here, it actually sees that there is p equals to double up 5. And to get the value of p, it has to execute this function, right? So what it does is this, now JavaScript is going to execute this function, but it won't execute it right away. It creates another mini execution context, and brings it into the code. It creates mini execution context. Okay. Uh, so it creates a mini execution context. It creates a mini execution context here for this function. So now JavaScript has access to this code, which is the code for the function, and it actually creates a new mini execution context for this function, okay? And this is going to again repeat the same steps, same as the bigger execution context, okay? That's why you can say that this is like a subprogram, right? So there's a program inside a program, basically a subprogram. So now what it will do is this would like traverse this thing and do the memory collection task. So it has come across a variable called number, okay? So when it comes across the variable called number, what it does is it basically saves it in the memory, and as you know already, this is going to be undefined. Sorry, in this case, it won't be undefined because this happens when we call a function, right? And when you call the function, you provide this value. You provide this value 5. Hence, JavaScript knows that the value for this number is basically 5. Now, the next step would be it encounters this variable which is answer, but we haven't passed answer anywhere. So it takes answer, says that okay, this answer is actually undefined. Okay, this is undefined. Cool. Now it starts executing. So it sees that there's answer equals number into 2. Like, okay, we have number which is 5 and 5 into 2, what it would be. So whenever this executes this line, it is going to update this value to 10 and then it would return this value. Okay, I guess it would be better if I write the statements as well. So var answer equals to number into 2, var okay, number into 2. So basically this code is been executed and the value of answer is been updated to 10. Cool. And now it encounters return answer. So it basically has to return from this function. So what it does, it's going to return this value. If I go there, I'll also write the code for these steps too, so that, so here the first statement was var k equals 5. We'll just go through it once again. Uh, it would be like a bit confusing, but I'm trying my best to make it easier to understand for everybody. Okay, so we have var k is equal to 5 and we have this var p is equal to double up of 5. Okay, double up of 5. Okay, so yeah, so if we go, so what happens is it first the memory collection phase is done. It takes k, updates the value in the memory. It takes now it comes across var p is equal to double up, and now it creates a mini execution context for this, where it again does the memory collection phase, and it gets the value number 5 because this was being passed already, and then it comes across this line of code which is var answer equals to number into 2. We have the number as 5. 5 into 2 is 10, and that has been updated. And what happens now? It encounters this return statement. Okay, so it encounters this return statement, and once the return statement is encountered, what JavaScript will do is it would take return the control back to the parent function, and this execution context would be destroyed. Basically, it would be deleted, and this p would be updated as 10. So this is updated as 10 because that value was returned by that execution context which we just deleted. Okay, and at the end we do console.log p, and that basically does consoles this value to our console, and we see the result as 10. And we see the result as 10 here. And that's basically a complete execution of the program. I hope you understand. Now there would be like one question, but how do JavaScript knows, like how does JavaScript know that when which function is executed? Because there would be like mini execution context inside a mini execution context inside a mini execution context. So for that same purpose, it has something called as the call stack. Okay, it has something called as the call stack, which is going to, it's a stack which is going to maintain the sequence of execution. So for example, whenever this execution context is created, it would say that it's a global execution context and it's saved here. Okay, then whenever it comes across the execution of this function, which is double up, whenever it comes across the execution of this function double up, like whenever this line is encountered, it would place double up here and create that mini execution context, and it would create that mini execution context which we had, which I just deleted. Yeah, I have this here. So okay, so what happens is like memory collection phase is done, this is done, and it creates initially when the execution context is when the program starts, the global execution context is stored into the stack, and all this memory collection phase is done. The execution of code starts. It updates the value of k. It comes across double up, and then takes the code, creates a mini execution context here, and starts the execution. So when this mini execution context is created, at the same time, double up is saved in this call stack, so that I know that which function is being executed currently, and I have access to its memory and all stuff. So this is executed, and as soon as this is executed, this would return. As soon as this return statement is reached, it would return the answer, which in our case is 10, and it would return 10. It would destroy this execution context. And this double up would be like done. Double up would be removed in the stack, and this would also be deleted. Then we come to console.log, and it logs it to the console, and after that this global is also deleted, and we have the call stack as empty, and finally the execution is created. All this execution context and stuff, even this execution context, would be then destroyed after the execution is done. So basically this was complete execution of a program in JavaScript, and I hope that you understood it. But like, we'll just, I guess it's already 6:34. Okay. I'll just cover this up, cover a last thing, that how do I actually see this in action in the browser? How do I see this in browser? Okay. Why should I believe you, first of all? So basically, if you want to see this in browser, we can actually see this in browser. I'll just place a debugger here. Okay, remove this debugger, and I'll refresh this up. It stops here, and if you come here, and I'll just zoom it up. Okay, and if you see, there's something called as call stack. Oh, crazy. So there's something called as call stack, and it has double up here because the execution of this function is going on, basically. So we have a call stack which is double up, something called double up, and this double up has an execution context called as local, and it has the memory number equals to 5 already. So I hope you understand that. We don't have that statement here, which is answer. If I actually place a statement here, which is what answer equals number, just console.log from here, and I'll return answer. Okay. And at the same time, I'll also do console.log answer. Not important, and I just want to place it here. So I save this, I refresh this up, I go to console, I refresh this up, and I've placed the debugger at the console. I will remove this, I'll refresh it. So you can see there's a call stack, double up, and it has local, which is answer 10 and number 5. So when it reaches this line number 121, it updates the answer to be the value 10, and it returns. So let's place a debugger here too. Okay, no, not here. Let's place a debugger at console.log p. And if we step forward, we have this console.log p, but oh, in the call stack, there's no double up. Where did the local go? It is all destroyed because the function is executed at line number 197, and p has its value updated. And that's basically how you can see these things in action into your browser itself. It has a whole lot of things, and we will explore more such things and more crazy stuff here. And that's it, basically. One more interesting thing which I guess we can cover is okay. I'll just not cover it in the browser. I'll just cover it in the console. So there can be an interesting question. Okay, hey Hari, what happens if I console.log p here? What happens? What this is going to return? So if you had paid attention to this memory creation phase, you would know that what this is going to return. Any guesses here? What this is going to return? Please, please, please put some effort. Think. Just recall all those things which I just told you. And undefined. I see one answer which is undefined. Anyone? Anyone undefined? JavaScript executes line by line. This is line number 198. This is line number 198. We have console.log p. Here we have var p equals to double up. So what would console.log is going to be executed only in the execution phase. Okay. But before that, we have a memory collection phase already done. So what should this be? Undefined, undefined, undefined. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody? More guesses, more guesses. Come on. More guesses. 0. Okay. Interesting. 0. Any more guesses? Any more guesses? And then that's exactly. Okay, wait a minute. We do have 10. Okay, crazy. 10. Okay, we do have 5 too. 10, 5. Okay, cool, cool, cool. But if you check it in the browser, going to console, it returns undefined. Okay, I'll just name this line something so that, or else people would say, "Hey, 10 to bola tha main." So this is the question, and if I come here, it would return me undefined. And why this undefined appears, I guess everybody knows it, because at this moment, let's go back to the sources. At this moment where I did this console.log p, and if I refresh it now, and I go to global, I search for p, MNOP, and okay, close. There it is. It's undefined because the memory collection phase is done. Hence, this is placed undefined. But this line is not yet executed, which would update the value, which would initialize p with something. So I hope you all get to know why we have undefined. And I guess we do have some topics left, but maybe we can cover it tomorrow. And I can say that we can end this session now. So, a question: do you want to continue, or do you want me to continue? Continue. Yes. Okay, cool. See, at least I'm happy with it. Continue. Cool. So yes, it's like, but it's already 6:40, and we can continue it. Like, we have 5 days, right? So not 5 days. We have 3 days yet to go. So that's good. I guess anyone from the ACM staff, you can continue with closing ceremony or whatever you call it. Okay, few more suggestions, like how was the pace of the session? How was the session? Did you learn something? Did you learn something good? Was it informative? Can it be improved? How can it be improved? So perfect pace. Okay, thank you. Was it beginner friendly or something? Like whatever. Any suggestion? Okay, crazy. Thanks, people. We have 3 more days, and we are going to do some crazy stuff with JavaScript, and that is all going to be crazy.
Should I start?
Yeah, you can start. One more thing, do attempt the quiz. It would be like sent it in the chat box, write it. Okay, so thanks.
Make life a masterpiece by learning. Imagine no limitations on what you can be, have, or do. On this note, we would like to conclude today's session by expressing our gratitude towards our expert for honoring us with his time and presence. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with all the valuable knowledge and information. I would like to express my gratitude to the Principal of RAIT, Dr. Mukesh Patil, sir, and HOD of IT Department, Dr. Ashish Jadhav, sir. Our heartfelt thanks to all the participants for tuning in and keeping the session interactive. We hope you enjoyed today's session. Do follow us on Instagram to get updates regarding these and many more workshops. Also, attempt the daily quiz that we upload on our Instagram stories. Do not forget to attempt the quiz before leaving. We have put the link to it in the text channel. For further updates, follow us on our social media handles. Link to the same has been put in the text channel too. Let us all meet tomorrow for the day 3 of Ready to React. Till then, keep learning and keep coding. Thank you.
Hello, excuse me.
Hello, yes.
Sir,
Uh, your voice is not audible to me. Hello. If you're not able to speak, you can write in the chat.